You're listening to the Infinite Banking Mastery Podcast. Did you know that you could build a tax-free pool of wealth that's liquid and accessible all your life while building your retirement nest egg? Gain full control of your financial future and stop relying on the government and banks. The wealthy have already discovered this wealth-building secret. Now it's your turn to get financially secure without following the conventional wisdom that keeps you in debt to banks. Now here's your host, Valerie LaRocque.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the podcast. Thank you so much for listening in. Thank you to all of my wonderful listeners. I hope that you are having a great continued month of December. At the time that this recording rolls out, it will be less than a week away to Christmas, and hopefully I'll be more prepared than I am right now because it's still a couple weeks away as I record this, and I am not yet ready. But I love this season and I'm just excited. So even though I have much to do, I will do it with joy in my heart. I will be happy all the day long. So anyhow, one thing that I've been noticing online lately on social media a lot is Elon Musk, who is speaking up about the enormous deficit that our country has. And one of the latest articles that I saw was one titled, Elon Musk says there is a substantial ignorance about America's national debt. Now, I would have to agree with this, although in recent times, maybe recent months or few years, I have noticed that there is more awareness going around. A lot more people are at least aware of it. They may not really understand it or really care too much about it, but they are more aware of it. Certainly, in my whole time in this industry, it has not been something that people are super aware of, or keeping track of, or really care about at all. So I would say there's some truth in his statement that he says a lot of people just aren't aware of it. They're not paying attention. There's some ignorance there. And maybe people are just choosing to just put it in the back burner of their mind or not pay attention to it, just kind of forget about it and not worry about it since there's nothing they feel they can do right now to address it. So maybe a lot of people are just choosing to be ignorant about the national debt. But it is a little scary how a lot of people just don't know at all about it or think about it or are concerned about it. And now I know that at this time, a lot of people, most people either really love Elon Musk or really hate Elon Musk, but there's no denying that he has a huge following. And so he's been really just trying to get the word out about the deficit. And I think that that's great that he's trying to get the word out because it is so very important to our country. Our national debt is just so horrifically high. The balance is so high and it's increasing faster than ever before. So I definitely think it's a good thing that he is speaking up about it and trying to get it out there. Some of the things that he has said and posted on X are that he said, a significant percentage of people don't even know that there is such a thing as a national debt. Okay, well, that's certainly scary. Lots of people don't even know about it, but I feel it's kind of the same way. He's also said those that do often don't know how big it is or that our interest payments now exceed what we spend on our military. Yeah, it is getting really up there. It's scary just how much we are paying on those interest payments. He says only a small percentage understand that government overspending causes inflation. Yes, exactly. So the government is sending out money to help whoever they can and just spending money on all sorts of things. And they're overspending because they don't have that money to spend. It's just crazy how they just think they have this endless credit card because they can just tax us more. But then, we're not supposed to do that. We're all supposed to be able to live below our means or live below what we're bringing in income every month. And yet the government is very, very bad at doing this and just thinks, oh, well, we'll just tax the taxpayer some more. But all that overspending is causing a direct cause of inflation. So another thing he said is that America is going bankrupt fast. He also said the excess government spending is what causes inflation. All government spending is taxation. It is either direct taxation like income tax or indirect via inflation due to increasing the money supply. Now, of course, that makes a lot of sense when he says all government spending is taxation, because it absolutely is. The government does not make money. It doesn't have any way to earn money. The only way they get money is by taxing us and taking it from us. There's no other way. So they're either doing that to be able to handle all their expenditures and the things that they are giving money for, or they are directly inflating the money supply, and that is increasing inflation. So they're injecting it into the economy. The banks are causing inflation by increasing the money supply, loaning out more money than they have in reserves. All that activity is causing inflation. Another quote from Elon Musk is, "If we don't tackle the national debt, all tax revenue will go to paying interest and there will be nothing left for anything else." Now, this is super scary. This is something that would absolutely devastate our nation. I've mentioned before an author, David McKnight, who wrote the book, The Power of Zero. And he has been going all over the country, basically screaming from the rooftops at the top of his lungs, the dangers of the deficit hitting 53 trillion. Now, I'm almost certain it's 53 trillion. Maybe it could be 52 trillion, but I want to say 53. I think that's the right number. He said, once our nation's deficit hits 53 trillion, that all of the income that our nation brings in will only be enough to cover the interest on the debt. Just like what Elon Musk said, except David McKnight has been shouting it from the rooftops for years and years already. Now, how scary and messed up is that? That would mean we won't be able to afford a single other thing as a nation, but just the interest on the debt. That would include Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid. There are so many different things, DSHS, the military. All these things we would not be able to afford. We would only be able, with all the income of the US, be able to pay the interest. Elon Musk adds, if the issue isn't addressed, the dollar will be worth nothing. That would be true chaos and destruction for our nation. So this is very important. And there's a reason why they are running around trying to notify everyone about our nation's deficit, because it is critical to our nation being healthy and being strong. We will be utterly devastated if we allow our deficit to just continue to grow. In a Forbes article from 2020 called 5 Consequences of US Debt at 50 Trillion, the article points out that we are set to breach this $50 trillion mark by 2030. Yikes, that is just around the corner. And David McKnight had said 53 trillion is really the critical crashing down of our nation point, but 50 trillion, I'm sure, is pretty close. So this article, it went on to talk about how raising taxes will not solve the problem. We will need to cut government spending. So I have this nifty document that our agency created that goes over a portion of The Power of Zero by David McKnight. And he, in the book, has some information from David Walker, who was the Comptroller General of the United States back in 1988 to 2009. So basically, he was the CPA for the USA. And I know I've gone over some of this information before, probably, but it was probably a couple years ago. So he says, based on the current fiscal path, future tax rates will have to double or our country could go bankrupt. And then why? Well, math. And so he said, back in 1935, when Social Security first began, there were 42 workers for every one worker on Social Security, and the life expectancy was age 62. But by 2017, there were only 3 workers for every one on Social Security, and the life expectancy became 85. That number of people that are required to be working per one on Social Security has dropped to below 3 now at this current time. But I haven't gotten all the statistics of all the information, because he goes on to say, this was in 2012, that 77 cents of every tax dollar that they received as revenue in the nation was going to Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, and interest on the national debt. That's 77 cents of every tax dollar. And he said that by 2017, it would be 90 cents of every tax dollar that would have to go out for Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, and interest on the national debt. So already we're so close to this breaking point of having every dollar needing to go towards the interest only on the national debt, except for that doesn't even include Social Security, Medicare, or Medicaid. And back in 2017, he said that leaves 10 cents of every dollar coming into the US as tax income that was left for all the other expenses, such as the military, Congress, the IRS, Homeland Security, child nutrition, food stamps, the CDC, the Secret Service, the State Department, disaster relief, NASA, FEMA, FBI, Indian Affairs, immigration enforcement, housing for the elderly, federal courts, student loans, federal pensions, FAA, SEC. You get the idea. The list goes on and on and on and on. So that is just crazy to me that there would be so little dollars left for all these programs and things that our country does and needs money for, and not even considering Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid, which are the biggest expenses for the nation, especially with our aging population. So it is very, very important that we work to get this deficit lowered in our nation. It is simply scary big and growing by the second. And on the track that we're on, according to David Walker, our taxes are definitely going to have to increase, and he thinks even double. So now we have yet to see what will happen with this new department, this Department of Government Efficiency that Elon Musk is going to be spearheading. I am hopeful that they will be successful at cutting enough of our nation's costs down to help us out of this crisis. But either way, this is certainly one of the reasons why I feel even more strongly about having a good portion of my money, a good portion of my savings protected inside of a whole life policy that will be guaranteed to grow, and that I'll have access to that income or that cash inside of my policy income tax free. More than ever, I find that to be important, to protect a portion of your money, is a significant portion of your money, in a place that will not be taxable at the time that you are no longer able to earn income. And of course, there still is the option of Roth IRAs, at least for many people. A lot of people can't even contribute to a Roth IRA because of their income being too high. But these do still come with market volatility. The accounts that are more concerning to me because of this tax rate risk are those that are earmarked for retirement, such as IRAs, 401ks, and pensions. They are certainly at risk of higher taxes in the future, they also are dealing with regular market volatility, but they have tax rate risk, which is kind of an even more higher concern than even the volatility of the market. Because you might think you have $1 million in your account, you might say, oh, my account's doing great, I have $1 million. But your tax rate can change before you retire or while you're in retirement. And suddenly it becomes, a really crazy example. Like they've said, maybe it's double, maybe it's 50%, like David Walker, who used to be the CPA of the USA, says. And what if it actually did jump to 50%? Well, you don't have $1 million in your account, you have 500,000. And so it's possible that even if your funds were invested during a continuous bull market in the industry, it only always went up and there were never any downside and it just grew and became amazing. There still is that risk that the government is struggling, needs to increase taxes because we're getting close to that 53 trillion and they need to double your tax rate. And now they're going to whisk away 50% of those retirement savings in a time when you're not working anymore and can't go out and earn money. And that's a very real risk to me. It's a real risk to me. It's a real risk to Elon Musk. It's a risk to David McKnight, the author of Power of Zero, who's also has documentaries out, who goes around the nation talking to groups of advisors, trying to warn us, to help us warn our clients about this looming deficit and how our nation is going to need more tax money. How he describes it in one of his documentaries is it's like we're on a speed train just heading as fast as we can into the side of a mountain. He says it's like an episode of The Roadrunner and the coyote sees the mountain coming and they're in this script-ass train and he just decides to shut the shade and not really pay attention and watch the train crash into the mountainside. He says that's basically what we're doing. So again, this increased tax rate risk is very real to me, the people I just mentioned, and also to David Walker, who was a CPA of the USA. That's concerning enough for me, the person who used to run the USA's books. So if you're feeling like you want to protect some of your money and you're ready to store away some money that will be protected from taxation, and you want to build a pool of cash inside of a dividend paying whole life insurance policy with a mutual company, then please reach out to me. I'd be happy to help you if you would like to. A pool of cash that you can access at any time throughout your life and then will ultimately leave a tax-free death benefit to your loved ones. If you're feeling ready to start something like this and you would like to partner with me, please reach out to me at Valerie@alphaomegawealth.com. I would be happy to connect with you and help get you started with a whole life policy designed for infinite banking. I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful Christmas and time over the holidays, time with family. And I hope that you have a restful time. And I otherwise look forward to sharing with you again in the new year. Take care, everyone.
This is thepodcastfactory.com.